Stay tuned for the GSN Digest. Welcome to the GSN Digest, a short program of various features. The show starts now.
Well, we're nearing the end of November and this is episode number 9. Speaking Sports is all about this year's Grey Cup. Exploring space reminds us that things can and do fall from the sky. John F. Kennedy is the focus of pieces of history, and some courageous women had the nerve to speak out against social injustice and other touchy topics. But due to some technical problems last week, a repeat of last week's News Watch will start things off.
This is the News Watch.
Halloween has been over for almost 2 weeks but tell that to some vandals in Montreal. A statue of Sir John A. Macdonald was targeted Saturday night in the Place du Canada in downtown Montreal. The vandals used red spray paint and posted a video of the incident online, and they claimed responsibility for the vandalism. They have described themselves as an anti-racist, anti-colonial and anti-capitalism group. They issued a written statement to the media saying John A. Macdonald was a white supremacist. He directly contributed to the genocide of Indigenous peoples with the creation of the brutal residential school system, as well as other measures meant to destroy native cultures and traditions. He was racist and hostile towards non-white minority groups in Canada, openly promoting the preservation of a so-called Aryan Canada. He passed laws to exclude people of Chinese origin. He was responsible for the hanging of Métis martyr Louis Riel. Montreal police are investigating the matter. This is Speaking Sports, a weekly sports feature. In the Eastern Final, it was Toronto 25, Saskatchewan 21. In the Western Final, it was Calgary 32, Edmonton 28. So now the stage for the big dance is set. The Calgary Stampeders will play Toronto Argonauts to see if who have the right to brag their brains out. Right now, I'm going with the Stamps to make it a closer affair. The Argos eked out a 25-21 win over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, while the Eskimos defeated Winnipeg in a close one to punch their ticket to the Western Final against Calgary. I guess most would give the Stampeders the edge, but strange things can happen. But I'll go with Calgary to win in a seesaw battle. None of this 50-0 blowout stuff. I'm hoping for a classic tilt between the two division winner. Cold beer and pizza are ready to go. Throw in some strobes and a little disco music and let's see what happens next Sunday.
This is the GSN Digest, a short program of various features.
Well, have you started wagering on this year's Grey Cup? I'm not a betting man, but I'll go with Calgary because I'm a Westerner. Heads up, something might just fall from the sky.
Some time back, I wrote about the possibility of planetary collisions. It might not seem likely, but it can happen. One of the things that science has predicted is the possibility of a bombardment of asteroids pouncing on Earth in the next 30 years or so. NASA is already planning a way to intercept or divert these objects before they actually hit Earth. They might not get all of them. They want to stop the biggest asteroids, because some of them are larger than New York. I remember seeing the movie Meteor in the late 70s, and in the movie a large meteor bigger than New York and demolished the whole city. It can happen. It might not happen in our lifetime, but a couple of years ago, a large meteor came through and landed somewhere in northern Russia. Fortunately, no one was hurt or killed, but serves as a reminder that it can happen. There have been postings on YouTube of that crashing meteor, and yeah, this does happen.
This is Pieces of History, looking back at the past. John F. Kennedy was the 35th President of the United States and served from 1961 until his assassination on November 22, 1963. His main service was during the height of the Cold War. He worked to improve relations with the Soviet Union. In 1959, Kennedy, then a senator, joined forces with the CIA to try and overthrow the government of Cuba. The Bay of Pigs invasion failed, but despite this Kennedy's popularity ranked roughly 70%. Another incident happened in October of 1962. American spy planes spotted Soviet missile bases on Cuban soil. For 13 days that October, the Cuban Missile Crisis was a conflict between the US and the Soviet Union. It was closest the two had come to a full-scale nuclear war. On November 22, 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. The gunman was Lee Harvey Oswald. It was believed that he was part of a conspiracy, but investigators found that he acted alone. Oswald was murdered a couple of days later by Jack Rudy. Rudy eventually died of cancer before he was to stand trial for Oswald's murder. After several commissions and inquiries, the reason for Kennedy's assassination remains a mystery. Perhaps we'll never really know the reason as to why John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and it will be just another moment in history.
Listening to the GSN Digest, a short program of various features. The show continues.
There will always be some mystique around John F. Kennedy, as there usually is when it comes to presidential assassinations. Some female singers spoke out musically. Here's this week's installment of Notations.
This is Notations, a music feature.
I just had a look at a list of 30 women who had some impact on music, and there are some good ones in that list. Many of those on the list are people already know. Artists like Joni Mitchell, Buffy St. Marie, and Carole King are obvious ones. Others like Gloria Estefan, Madonna, and Beyoncé are there because not only are they good singers and songwriters, but many of their songs tackle subjects that most might steer clear of. They sang songs that had some social or political statements in them, and they made no apologies about doing so. Some did more than stand on a stage and sing. They threw in some dancing and lighting effects, making it more than just a singing performance. The list also included those who had powerful voices and their singing style, and the fact that they won many awards. Billie Holiday won 4 Grammys posthumously, mainly because not only was she a great songwriter, but she too sang songs with sensitive subjects like racism. Her singing of Strange Fruit, an anti-racism song, won a Grammy. Another singer whose music stretches the musical boundaries is Alanis Morissette, whose 1995 album Jagged Little Pill did more than just sell more than 30 million copies. It spoke volumes in that it sounded like someone saying, "I'm as mad as hell, and I ain't taking it anymore." Other singers come to mind: Tina Turner and Helen Reddy. Both women were survivors of abusive husband. Reddy isn't on the list but should be, because many of her songs are about what happens to survivors of abuse. They either come out a little touched, nuts, or they come out swinging. Some of the women who were on the list made their own impact on music, and even if they weren't as well known, made their own contribution their way.
Group of dashes. Tune in next time for another edition of Notations.
Some of those women sang out against injustice and took some heat for it, but they're brave souls for it. I'm out of here for this week, starting the planning for Christmas programming, which begins December 14th. Take care.
That's all for this week. We hope you enjoyed the show. Your feedback is more than welcome. Drop us a line at programs@gsnvancalvarbc.ca or visit us at gsnvancalvarbc.ca. We're back next week with another edition of the GSN Digest. Thanks for tuning in. So long for now.